Hey, what's up everybody? This is Catch, Hook, and Shoot. It is the weekend of July 8th. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July holiday. Hope everybody's enjoying the show. Please make sure you're following me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. The podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast, you'll be able to find it. Just search Catch, Hook, and Shoot, or just Catch, Hook, Shoot. If you ever want to shoot me an email, have any questions, suggestions for the show, anything like that, it is catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So, yeah, getting into what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling this week. There's some conflicting reports online that Rey Mysterio Jr. signed a new 2-year deal with WWE. One source says yes, one source says no. So kind of have to wait to see how this one plays out. It'd be interesting to find out if he has signed a contract. How does that affect his status for the All In show on September 1st? Because they have already announced him as being part of the show, whether it's going to be in a match or just an appearance or something like that. They haven't really said yet. But there, obviously, if he has signed a WWE contract, that may change things, unless he worked that in as part of the deal, still being able to finish out his independent commitments. But like I said, there's conflicting reports as to whether he's actually signed that contract or not. So it's kind of a wait and see deal here. Another interesting note is, I guess there was a lot of speculation about Daniel Bryan and whether or not he would be re-signing with WWE at the end of his current contract in September. Reports now are saying that he's, featured very heavily in the new WWE 2K19 game, and I think they're kind of going under the assumption that he will re-sign with WWE. Yeah, honestly, with Bryan, like I said, he would easily, I think, be able to make WWE money on the independent scene just because of his popularity. So again, that's going to be another wait and see thing. I'm sure closer to September we'll have a better idea of where he stands with WWE. I personally would love to see him go out on the independents for at least a little while. I'd love to see him, pop up as a surprise at the All In show in September. So you never know. But yeah, I think the assumption is he'll probably re-sign with WWE. I'm sure they're going to make him a huge money offer. But again, it depends on, does he want to continue wrestling full time? Does he want to have more of a part-time type schedule? Which, of course, being on the independents would allow him to kind of make his own schedule. He can wrestle wherever, whenever he wants to, rather than having that grueling WWE road schedule, which, it would definitely be better for him and his family, I would think. But you never know. So again, it's going to be kind of a wait and see scenario with this. Another interesting story came out this week is about the WWE Network starting to feature some independent promotions on the service. So I know I talked last week about WWE kind of dipping their toe in the water about talent sharing with some of the indies, with Hideo Itami going back to Pro Wrestling Noah and things like that. This is kind of another step in that same direction. Now, my thinking, if they are going to do this, it would obviously be promotions that they have some kind of working relationship with, that probably don't have a streaming service of their own, or that aren't on another streaming service like the Fight TV app or something like that. So you're not going to see Ring of Honor, you're not going to see Impact. They have their own streaming services. Well, and actually maybe you will see Impact, because they've been kind of doing some cross promoting there, promoting the GWN streaming service on WWE programming, in exchange for using Impact footage for the Hardys and AJ Styles and things like that. So who knows? But my thinking, it would be more along the lines of the indies that, like I said, they have a working relationship with as far as talent goes, like Progress and some of the UK indies. You'll probably see those pop up on there in the coming months. So again, that just WWE kind of branching out and embracing the independent wrestling scene. I think they probably see it as, well, we don't have much of a choice. This isn't going to go away, and it's not like the old territory days where you can just ignore your competition, because there's not saying that any of the indies individually are competition for WWE, but as a whole, like I talked about last week, they're definitely on par as far as the star power that they have, as far as indies sharing talent between Ring of Honor, New Japan, Impact, Lucha Underground, and all the other smaller independent promotions out there. So WWE is definitely starting to slowly ease their way into the game as far as branching out and expanding their horizons a little bit. And I think that can't be anything but good for the WWE, for the independent promotions, and especially for the fans. So again, I'm definitely excited to see where this goes, and hopefully it plays out. So on to the New Japan G1 Special that happened this weekend, last night. Of course, the big match on the card was Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. By all accounts, I wasn't able to watch it, but by all accounts, it was a fantastic match. I actually read a few people said it was the best match of Cody Rhodes' career. Kenny Omega did come out on top and retain the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Something interesting to note, at the end of this match, I guess you could say the Tongan faction of the Bullet Club came out, and that was Haku, Tamatonga, and Tangaloa, of course, which are Haku's two sons, came out and attacked Cody and Kenny. Well, attacked Kenny and the Young Bucks. Cody came out acting like he was going to side with them, ended up siding with Kenny and the Bucks, and got beat down himself. So there's a definite split within the Bullet Club. It looks like the name for the Tongan faction with Haku and his two sons is the Bullet Club Firing Squad. Of course, the new T-shirts are available already at Pro Wrestling Tees. And interesting note from JR when all this went down is, where does Bad Luck Fale stand on this? Because he, of course, was a founding member of the Bullet Club. He is a cousin of Haku and his two sons. So I would assume he'd probably side with them, but you never know. He may go with the elite, as they're called, Cody and Kenny and the Bucks, because of course Cody and Kenny at the end of the match, they kind of settled their differences, so that feud is pretty much ended. So it looks like the direction they're going is we're going to have two different Bullet Club factions, kind of like the NWO Hollywood and NWO Wolfpack back in the days of the Monday Night Wars. But I think this one will probably be a lot more interesting because there's quite a bit more talent, I think, with the NWO split and beef. I mean, you had a lot of talented guys, but I think a lot of it was just kind of filler on both sides. I mean, of course, with Wolfpack, you had Lex Luger and Sting and Kevin Nash were like the core of that group, and also Conan, of course. So the NWO Wolfpack, even though it was a smaller group, was pretty stacked with talent. But then on the black and white side, of course, you had Hogan, you had Hall, and you had the Giant and Kurt Hennig. Bret Hart, kind of like an outer skirt member, I guess. He was never really a full-fledged NWO guy. But then you kind of had a lot of mid-carders involved and stuff like that. So, but I think this will probably, this deal with the Bullet Club will probably be a lot more fun to watch, a lot more interesting. And New Japan seems to do these things very, very well. So I'm interested to see how this one's going to play out. Another title change last night. Juice Robinson is the new IWGP United States champion. By all accounts, Juice Robinson is the guy in New Japan. He's received so much praise since he's gone over there. Of course, he was in NXT for a little while. Didn't really go too far there, but he's become a huge international star since he joined up with New Japan. So kudos to him for becoming the third IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion. On a sad note, the Junior Heavyweight Champion in New Japan, Takahashi, it sounds like he suffered a broken neck in his match last night against Dragon Lee. He was able to finish the match. He walked out under his own power, but apparently he, once he got to the back, he did collapse. He was taken to the hospital. Don't have a confirmation yet, but what the initial reports are saying is that he did suffer a broken neck, which doesn't necessarily mean the end of his career. Obviously, it's a horrendous injury. It's probably one of the worst injuries anybody can suffer, but it doesn't always mean it's the end of the career. Look at guys like Kurt Angle, X-Pac, Edge. A lot of guys can come back from that if it's not an issue of, if there's no kind of paralysis or anything like that. The neck can be surgically repaired and he can make a comeback. Unfortunately, it's quite a long road to recovery usually, but hopefully within the next few days or so, we'll know exactly what the deal is that's going on here, and hopefully he'll be able to come back. Another injury to report is apparently Fandango in WWE suffered a shoulder injury over the weekend. Tore his labrum in his left shoulder. It's going to require surgery, so he's going to be out about 6 months, which kind of leaves Tyler Breeze on his own. Hopefully, they don't just completely take him off TV. I mean, Breezango, they weren't top contenders for the tag titles or anything like that, but they were definitely entertaining. They definitely kind of carved out their own niche, and they weren't given the greatest characters and storylines when they were put together on the main roster, but they made it work for them. They took it, they ran with it, and they made the absolute most they could out of it, and picked up quite a big fan base in the process. So hopefully, they keep Tyler Breeze on TV and visible until Fandango is able to come back, and hopefully they keep them as a tag team when he does come back. Let's see, what else do we have going on? Okay, so some news with Impact. It looks like another big feud was started over the weekend, or not over the weekend, on the last broadcast last Thursday, with two different factions of LAX. Of course, the leader of LAX has always been Conan, and the current incarnation of the LAX tag team is Santana and Ortiz, who are the Impact Tag Team Champions now. Conan, a few weeks ago, was jumped, beaten down, and has been out for a little bit, and LAX has been led by King is the name he's going by. It's Eddie Kingston, and he's kind of been not really a heel, but not really a face. He's kind of been in between, kind of been a little bit ambiguous as far as what his intentions are. Of course, the female member of LAX came back a couple of weeks ago, Diamante, and kind of expressed her distrust for King. And Conan came back a couple of weeks ago, or last week, and same thing. Didn't show a whole lot of trust. Called him out to the ring. Said that it was King that had him beat down and had him put out and everything. So Santana and Ortiz basically said it. They're going to side with Conan. They were about to, I don't know if they were about to beat King down or what was going to go on, but out of the back came the original LAX. Homicide and Hernandez beat down Conan, Santana, and Ortiz, showing that they're on King's side in this whole ordeal. So this I am definitely interested in. I gotta say, it's the first time in a while that an Impact storyline has caught my eye, but I've always been a fan of LAX. I've always been a fan of Conan, so I'm definitely looking forward to see how this plays out. Santana and Ortiz have turned into a really good tag team, and Homicide and Hernandez, I mean, their track record speaks for itself. They were one of the most original, most dominant tag teams in TNA for quite a while. So seeing these two factions go at each other should be fun to watch. Some more Impact news. Looks like or another rivalry, I should say, that I'm looking forward to watching some more of is Sami Callihan and Pentagon Jr. Sami Callihan recently I believe it was at a House of Hardcore show, took the mask of Pentagon Jr., which of course is probably the single biggest insult you can pull on any Mexican wrestler. So and Sami Callihan has just kind of built up this reputation of doesn't care, doesn't respect anybody. Of course, he just came out of a rivalry with Eddie Edwards, which was great. The matches between the two of them had some really good, hard-hitting, hardcore matches. So I'm definitely becoming a fan of Sami Callihan. He's a great heel. He kind of keeps up that heel persona at all times, kind of along the same lines as Tommaso Ciampa in NXT. It's a 24/7 deal. They don't break from that character, and so again, that's another one that's definitely looking good for their upcoming pay-per-view is Sami Callihan and Pentagon Jr. And that match is going to be mask versus hair. So I'm thinking more than likely, you're probably going to see Sami Callihan with a shaved head sooner rather than later. I don't think Pentagon's going to lose his mask anytime soon, just because he is in so many different organizations right now. Besides Impact, he's also in Lucha Underground. He's in AAA in Mexico. He's in MLW with his brother. Him and his brother Ray Phoenix are tag team champions. So I'm not thinking he's going to be losing his mask anytime soon, but it should be a great fight between those two. Another one that is looking pretty good and will just be a straight up fight, I think, is Brian Cage and Congo Kong. There's two giants in the ring, and of course, Congo Kong caused Cage to lose his first match in Impact, even though it was by countout. Caused him to take a loss to Matt Sydal when he was going for the X Division title, when Cage was going for the X Division title. So that was kind of the catalyst for that rivalry there. Of course, Jimmy Jacobs is in that mix as Congo Kong's manager. And again, I think with the two of these guys, it's just going to be a straight up fight. Another one that's going to be a straight up hardcore battle is Eddie Edwards and Tommy Dreamer. This one's been building for a while, kind of shot off from the Eddie Edwards and Sami Callihan rivalry. Of course, Tommy Dreamer was trying to help Eddie in the rivalry, trying to keep him from kind of going, over the edge, keep him from crossing that line and getting too violent, I guess, or however you want to say it. But and then of course it ended with Edwards turning on Dreamer, which it's an old storyline. It's been used a million times, but it works. And in this case, I think it works really well because Tommy Dreamer is, quintessential babyface, and but he can get in there, and he's one of the best hardcore wrestlers in the history of the business. I mean, I put him right up there with Terry Funk and Mick Foley as far as hardcore wrestling goes. Of course, Tommy Dreamer is the owner of House of Hardcore, which is where a lot of the storyline has played out. So it's kind of cool to see House of Hardcore working with Impact Wrestling. Of course, Tommy Dreamer is a producer for Impact, so he's kind of on both sides of that one. So I think it's it's great for him. He definitely deserves all the opportunities that he's getting with House of Hardcore and with Impact to kind of present House of Hardcore to a bigger audience. And I think this match with Eddie Edwards is going to be fantastic. I mean, it kind of harkens back to the partnership / rivalry with Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk back in the old ECW days, kind of along the same lines, except this time it was it wasn't the mentor turning on the student as it would. It was the other way around this time, with Edwards turning on Tommy Dreamer when Tommy was the one trying to help him. So definitely should be another great match for their pay-per-view. And of course, the Impact World Championship match for the pay-per-view is Austin Aries and Moose. I think Moose has become a top guy since he's been in Impact. Of course, he started off in Ring of Honor, moved to Impact a few years ago, and has just had great rivalries with guys like Bobby Lashley, Tyrus, EC3. So he's definitely earned his shot at the world title. And this one to me is kind of a toss-up because Austin Aries, of course, known as the Belt Collector, he is all over the indie scene, winning championships left and right. So it'll be interesting to see if Moose can get his hands on the Impact Championship. I definitely think he deserves it. I know there was some interest in Moose from WWE a few years ago before he started with Impact, and that kind of fell through just for some personal stuff that was going on with Moose at the time. But I have to wonder, is that interest still there? Are we ever going to see Moose maybe on NXT or on the WWE main roster, or is he happy in Impact? I mean, he has become the top guy there, pretty much, or the top contracted guy there. I mean, Aries is more of an independent guy. I don't believe he has a contract with Impact. It's just kind of a per appearance thing. So you may see them put the championship on Moose just to have it on a Impact contracted guy. But hey, I've been wrong before. Could be wrong this time. We'll have to see how this one plays out. So I'm definitely going to be watching. I don't know if I'll actually watch the Impact pay-per-view this month, but I'll definitely be keeping track of it to see who comes out on top. Because like I said, these are some great rivalries. Impact Wrestling has definitely stepped up their game in the last few months since they were bought out by Anthem Entertainment, and since Don Callis has been in charge. So they're definitely coming back up. Hopefully they keep climbing, and get to that next level where, maybe one day they will be some measure of competition for WWE. But that's jumping way ahead. They still got a long way to go, but they're definitely moving in the right direction. So hopefully that keeps up. So the last thing I wanted to cover today was, again, of course, I'll hold off on that for a minute because there was one more thing. Another rumor that's kind of flying around out there is WWE is getting ready to offer some huge money contracts to the Bullet Club Elite. And that would be Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks. Now, how much truth is behind this? Who knows? I mean, rumors fly around all the time about guys potentially going to WWE. But it's interesting because by all accounts, the Bucks contracts are coming up in November, I believe, with Ring of Honor, and New Japan pretty much only signs people to contracts year to year. I believe the only long-term contract they have is Okada, who is their top guy, the guy that Kenny Omega took the championship from. So this is definitely interesting because there was also an interview with Kenny Omega earlier this week where he kind of changed his tune a little bit about WWE. Made a comment, something to the effect, and this is not a direct quote, I don't remember what the exact wording was, but something to the effect of, WWE should be everyone's goal, because I mean it is the top of the business. So I thought that was interesting, and of course WWE followed the Young Bucks on Twitter this week. Again, an interesting little tidbit there, and the Bucks are always kind of ambiguous about what they think about signing with WWE or whether or not they would sign with WWE, but they have said in the past there's a lot they would have to give up by signing with WWE, namely a lot of the freedom they have as far as creatively, their merchandising and things like that. That's stuff that would have to be I'm sure worked into their contract, but they're in a position to where they can negotiate for those things, and if it's not to their liking, they can simply say thanks but no thanks and keep doing what they're doing and making just as much money. So the WWE, for all these guys, because of the success that they have on the indies, especially Cody, I would think they would have to make huge money offers with a lot of concessions as far as creative, as far as merchandising, as far as wrestling other places possibly. Who knows? But definitely something to watch, because if these four guys were to end up in WWE, I don't think you can pass up the opportunity to form some type of Bullet Club faction in WWE. I mean, just say for argument's sake, they sign all four of them, Cody, Kenny, and the Bucks. Okay, you've got Cody, you've got Kenny, you've got the Bucks, you've got AJ Styles, you've got Finn Balor, you've got Gallows and Anderson, you've got Adam Cole, all in the same company, all members of the Bullet Club at one time or another. You can't ignore that. The Bullet Club is the #1 group in wrestling today. WWE has no factions at the moment. Bullet Club is the top group in the world, bar none. So if you end up getting these four guys and just ignoring the connections and the popularity, then I think it's just a wasted opportunity. So I think WWE would have to allow some measure of creative control to be kept by the Bucks and by Cody and by Kenny. Whether they're willing to do that or not, I don't know. How much of that control Cody and Kenny and the Bucks are willing to give up, I don't know that either. So it's definitely another wait and see situation. But if it plays out the right way, it could be huge for the WWE. So hopefully they can. If this rumor is true that they are going to be offering some type of big money contract to these guys, hopefully they can come to a good working agreement that'll make everybody happy, and most importantly make the fans happy, because I think it would be just a huge opportunity to have all these guys in one place. And okay, now the last thing that I want to look at for today is some more Brock Lesnar news. According to the most recent reports, Brock Lesnar is confirmed for SummerSlam and for Raw the following night. So I would say most likely the match between Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules is probably going to end up being a #1 contenders match. So whoever comes out on top in that match will most likely end up facing Lesnar for the Universal title at SummerSlam. I personally am hoping it's Bobby Lashley. I really want to see him and Brock Lesnar in the ring together. I just think it'd be a great match. So, and I think it would probably get a better response than Roman Reigns. Now, all likelihood, Roman Reigns will be the one to get that match with Brock at SummerSlam. Most likely take the title off of him because he is, that's the WWE's guy. That's WWE's pick to be the face of the company. So he's, all likelihood going to be the next Universal Champion. Love him or hate him, that's how it is. So which I'm willing to accept that, and I think Roman gets a really bad rap from a lot of fans, especially from a lot of the indie fans, a lot of the hardcore wrestling fans. These are the same ones that boo John Cena every time he walks out. I have a lot of respect for Roman Reigns. I mean, the guy has improved leaps and bounds since he first came into WWE. He works his tail off day in, day out, puts on great matches, has improved leaps and bounds on the mic. Still not the greatest. He's not perfect, but who is? I mean, not everybody's going to be as good on the mic as The Rock, even if Roman is his cousin. It doesn't mean he's going to be as good on the mic as The Rock, or even as good as Cena or Austin. I mean, for somebody to have that complete package where they have the in-ring skills, the work ethic, the mic skills. I mean, it all takes time, and obviously a lot of fans for some reason do not appreciate that, and that's really kind of sad because I think they focus so much on hating these guys and on booing these guys, and just getting themselves over, so to speak. Starting their little chants or hitting their beach balls around or showing that they're, oh, I'm so bored with this. Well, then stop buying tickets. That's my whole thing. Stop buying the tickets. Stop watching the shows. Go enjoy your indie shows because that's what you're into, and stop, trying to ruin WWE for everybody else because, let's face it, WWE's got the biggest fan base in the world, like it or not, and you guys aren't going to change it. I'm not going to change it. Nobody else is going to change it. So, it is what it is. But like I said, I have no problem with Roman being the top guy. I'd love to see at some point, I'm hoping they'll reunify the titles into a single World Heavyweight title. I think Roman and AJ would put on a great match. I would hope that AJ would be the one to come out on top in that, but that's still way down the line. But another interesting tidbit about Brock Lesnar. Apparently he showed up at the UFC fight last night and got in the ring, got a little physical with the new UFC heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier. And of course, after the show, Dana White announced that Brock Lesnar would fight Daniel Cormier for the UFC World Heavyweight Championship down the line. Now, that's still at least 6 months off because Brock still has to re-enter the drug testing pool and give 6 months worth of clean tests before he is able to have another fight. So that one's going to be at least, you're looking at January 2019 at the earliest for that fight. So, it's looking like I would say SummerSlam would probably be Brock Lesnar's last match in WWE for a good while if he's going back to UFC. Now, if he wins the UFC Championship, obviously he'll be staying there for a while. If he loses that match, who knows, he may be back in WWE sometime in the middle of next year. And honestly, I mean, I like Brock Lesnar as an MMA fighter. When it comes to MMA, I am a Brock Lesnar fan. He's good. I'm not so fond of the fact that he took a suspension for testing positive for performance enhancers. I mean, come on, he's Brock Lesnar. He doesn't need it. The guy is a beast on his own. He doesn't need to use any of that stuff. But it is what it is. When it comes to pro wrestling, I was a fan of Brock Lesnar in WWE back in 2002 when he first started, because he was much more, I think, well-rounded. I mean, he become now in his current WWE run, he's very one-dimensional. He uses literally two moves in the entire match, German suplexes multiple times, and the F5. That's it. And maybe that's just how they book it. Maybe that's how Vince wants it. Maybe that's what Vince thinks works for him. Just throw the guy around. But I mean, Brock's an NCAA champion. If they want him to just suplex guys all day, that's great. Change it up. use the German suplex, use an exploder, use a vertical suplex, belly to belly, belly to back. You know, there's a million different kinds of suplexes you can use without just doing 50 German suplexes and 4 F5s, and that's the end of your match. You know, so but again, it is what it is. You know, I'm not the booker, I'm not the writer. You know, these are just my opinions, my ideas, and what I would like to see. But yeah, when it comes to WWE, I'm not a Brock Lesnar fan. When it comes to MMA, I'm definitely a Brock Lesnar fan. Although, you know, very disappointed about of course, the drug testing and everything. Hopefully, that issue is resolved, and he'll be able to, you know, give clean tests for the next 6 months, and he'll be back in the ring with Cormier sometime in January, February. And of course, you know, I think that'd be a fantastic matchup. And will Brock become the champion again? Who knows? So it should be fun to watch. But yeah, I'm definitely looking for a Universal title change come SummerSlam, unless for some reason Vince McMahon and Dana White have worked something out to where he's going to hold the WWE Universal title and the UFC Heavyweight title at the same time. Of course, that would be completely unprecedented. I can't see that happening. I can't see them leaving the Universal title on Brock Lesnar and dormant for another 6 months while he's training for his UFC fight. And then after the UFC fight, of course, there's going to be, you know, he's going to have time to heal from his injuries, and you know, whatever kind of abuse he takes in that match. Obviously, there's going to be some, whether it's black eyes, broken nose, whatever, you know, however minor it may be, it still needs to heal. So I mean, you're talking potentially, if they don't take the Universal title off of Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, you're talking about potentially not seeing that belt defended for a good 8 to 9 months, which to me is completely unacceptable. At that point, you should just abandon the title and make the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, which AJ Styles has, make that your top #1 priority as far as championships go, and leave it at that. So, and then, you know, again, the thing with last night with the UFC pay-per-view, Cormier wins the championship. You know, kudos to him. By all accounts, it was a good fight. Won by knockout in the first round. Then, of course, you know, they kind of called out Brock in like a WWE-style promo. Brock got in the ring and pushed him and cut his own promo, trash-talking other fighters and Cormier and everything. It just, I saw the video of it. It felt very forced, I guess is the right word. You know, it definitely was not spontaneous. You know, I mean, it was definitely UFC trying to use some WWE type showmanship, and it didn't work. And I mean, to me, you know, I like MMA, but I'm not a fan of Dana White just because of his opinions on pro wrestling. I think he's, you know, closed-minded and just has no business even letting the words pro wrestling come out of his mouth. But you know, hey, that's just me. But you know, it just to me, it just shows desperation, I think, on the part of Dana White and the UFC, because they, you know, they have nobody at the moment. I mean, Cormier is the biggest name that they got, which Cormier is a great fighter. I have nothing against him. I've seen, you know, a number of his fights. He is, you know, one of the top in the world, obviously. I mean, right now he is both the light heavyweight and heavyweight champions in UFC. You know, that didn't happen by accident. So, you know, I have no issue with Cormier. My issue is, you know, I think, like I said, Cormier is the only name that the UFC and Dana White have right now, because, I mean, Conor McGregor hasn't had a fight in, what, 2.5 years. Brock Lesnar has been retired. Ronda Rousey is retired from MMA and now in WWE. So, name-wise, star power, he's got nobody. So he's trying to basically pull out all the stops and get as much attention and as many eyes on the UFC as he can. And Brock Lesnar's a way to do that, and, you know, trying to incorporate some kind of you know, staged WWE type storyline into it, you know, is another way to do that. And, you know, I'm sorry, in MMA with guys who, you know, that is not their forte, that is not the business that they're in, it's not going to work. It just isn't. It's not believable. You know, Brock Lesnar standing in the octagon trying to cut a promo, smiling the whole time, almost, you know, holding back laughter, it looked like to me. And you know, saying, "Oh, this person's crap, and I'm gonna, you know, kick your ass," and all this kind of thing. It's horrible. You know, I'm sorry, it's horrible. Brock Lesnar is not a talker. That's why he's got Paul Heyman in the WWE to do his talking for him. Because, you know, all Brock can really do is throw punches, throw guys, and stand there and smile and laugh. And I mean, you know, but in WWE, that works. And, you know, when it comes to UFC, just get in the ring and fight. You know, if somebody wants to throw down a challenge like, hey, I want to fight this guy, great. You know, but don't try to be something you're not. UFC is trying to be WWE, and it's not going to work. And, you know, I'm not the only one that has this opinion. I've read it multiple places online. So, you know, I mean, I think it'll be a great fight, but the way that they're trying to hype it and trying to, you know, go the storyline type route is just kind of sad, honestly. But it is what it is, and, you know, I'm sure the fight will make lots of money, and Dana White will get rich, and, you know, I mean, like I said, this is all my opinion, but I will not be putting out money for this fight. You know, I'll read about it, I'll follow it online, but, you know, it's not something I'm going to buy into, because, like I said, it's too contrived, you know, and too staged and set up. And, you know, there's going to be people out there say, well, you know, what do you think WWE is? Yes, well, that is the nature of WWE. It's staged, it's contrived. These guys not only are athletes, but they're also actors to a certain extent, and they do it very, very well. You know, UFC guys, they're fighters. That's what they do, and they do it very, very well. You know, but if they wanted to be in WWE, I'm sure that's the route they would have taken. So that's my take on it. Hopefully, you know, hopefully it ends up to be, you know, like I said, everybody's going to make a lot of money. It's going to be a great fight. The build up to the fight, I think, is going to be a complete circus, even worse than Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. So, I mean, at least those two guys have the personality to pull off a WWE type storyline. I mean, Floyd Mayweather has actually worked in WWE for a time. You know, Conor McGregor has the charisma and the personality to pull off the war of the words, as well as the fight in the ring. But you know, like I said, with Cormier and Lesnar, they don't have the personalities to pull it off. So hopefully they just kind of let that go and just hype the fight for what it is, just a fight. You know, Brock Lesnar's big comeback, going for the title again. And, you know, it should be a great fight. What else can I say about it? So that's pretty much all I got for this week. Hope you guys like the show. Again, like I said, please follow me on social media. I'm on the show is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and our email address is catchhookshoot@gmail.com. Of course, you can find the show on wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, the original home of the show is Podbean. It's also on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. Like I said, pretty much anywhere you find your podcast, you can find the podcast as well as the video on YouTube. So, you know, give us a follow, give us a like. If you have any questions, comments, opinions, things you'd like to see me talk about on the show, please feel free to drop a comment, drop an email, whatever you like, and you know, I will make sure to, you know, I will definitely respond. And so yeah, hope everybody's enjoying the show. I know I'm having fun doing it so far, and I will talk to you guys next week.